All right, moving on here with the Locked On Vikings and Locked On Packers crossover. Peter, I think a huge key to all of these games has to be, I mean, it's the most cliche one ever, but I have to bring up turnovers because the Vikings were so turnover prone early in the year.
Yeah.
But we have gone, I think, 6 games, and Sam Darnold's touchdown to interception ratio is 15-1. And the one was a 4th down where it was like smarter to throw it up than it was to like get an incompletion. It ended up costing yards for the Bears. It was on Monday night. He has protected the ball incredibly, but I think if we want to talk about like what those opportunities are on defense for the Packers, it's generating those turnovers. Maybe you can get Aaron Jones to get his fumbleitis back. We got an Aaron Jones fumbleitis moment here. I don't know if you caught that, but that should be shocking, I think, to Packers fans, right? Like that happened.
But I mean, not in a big game. Not in a big game because Aaron Jones has had some big fumbles in big games, unfortunately.
I think it was against like the Titans. Like it was weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, right? He fumbled 3 times or something in a game. The turnovers, this is, like how do the Packers want to generate turnovers, I guess is my question.
Well,
there's 2 ways. One is in the backfield on the quarterback. So we saw it.
It's the Xavier McKinney thing.
Nickel pressure, Keyshawn Nixon gets a sack fumble on Spencer Rattler. Those kinds of they've done the thing. And so I had Evan Williams for Locked On Vikings fans who are not as interested in Locked On Packers day to day as our everydayers. I had Evan Williams, the Packers safety, on last week, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, did you watch that Vikings game and that Texans game and go, all the simulated pressure, like this kind of works. Like we should try and like do some more of this stuff." And in the second half,
game planning.
and look, I was like half joking about it, but he kind of refused to tell me. And so I was like, okay, maybe that's there's a little realness in there.
You're talking about faking pressure, like showing a bunch of people on the lines and then backing off with a 4-man rush,
which is a Brian Flores specialty. And
that happens all the time.
Sack fumble on Sam Darnold in that first game off a simulated pressure where they only bring 4 technically, but Keyshawn Nixon is unblocked off the edge and it turns into a sack fumble. Same thing happened against Spencer Rattler where you get the sack fumble with guys off the edge. They've been doing it.
The running backs have screwed those up a lot for the Vikings, and that's who you got to be attacked. You got to like make the running back think, and they've made some mistakes all over the depth chart, not just Jones, but CJ Ham.
You and I were joking about it the other day on Twitter where you showed a picture of that was not even simulated pressure. That was all out pressure. They showed it and brought it, and the running back looks right at the linebacker coming up the middle and goes, "Now I'll go to the outside."
Goes and gets the guy on the edge.
And so
that's the third time that's happened this year. So I don't know what that is, either an exploit in like the way they do it, or the running back's brains just keep falling out,
or both. But and then on the other side, so not to bring up Evan Williams again, but what he said was he wants the Packers to be the Jeff Hafley wants the Packers to be the best disguised team in the NFL. And so they pride themselves on, like, they've gotten to our pal Rich Madrid over at Acme Packing Company has charted, and I'm sure this is a similar number for the Vikings, but charted the number of ways just getting pre-snap to inverted cover 2. And it's like 9 different ways pre-snap they've showed something and then gotten to inverted cover 2. So like those kinds of things where it's basically Tampa 2, but your corners and safeties flip responsibilities. That's something that Brian Flores likes to do too.
For sure.
And so
it takes away a lot of the quick stuff. It takes away, like, you can't run like slant flat when you don't, if you are like misdiagnosing the coverage pre-snap, like it relies on a pre-snap diagnosis. But what the Vikings do is they never do anything quick, which is also exploitable from a pressure perspective. But that kind of, like, the coverage will have declared by the time Darnold needs to make a decision.
Right. Well, and this is where I was getting to. This is if you look at it, it is the case, and it is very weird. If you look at the best quarterbacks under pressure this season, Sam Darnold is among them, whether you're looking at Pro Football Focus grade, rating when pressured, those kinds of things. But just overall, he still has one of the higher turnover-worthy play rates in the league. He's 7th in turnover-worthy play rates as graded by Pro Football Focus. So to your point, he is taking care of the football in outcome, but the process can still be a little wonky at times. And I think for the Packers, they're going to need to create some turnovers. They're going to need to catch the ball. The old Charles Woodson line. If you caught every pass as a defender that the quarterback throws right to you, you're an all-pro. So just make the plays that are presented to you And I think the Packers are going to have to do that if they want to win this game, because it's just, this team is too good down to down, play to play, to think you can just line up and consistently beat them. And I think that's where they are. For the Vikings, like, this offense has been the weaker of the two units, which is weird to say for Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones and Jordan Addison and Kevin O'Connell. But offensively, like, what is the matchup that you feel like they can exploit against Green Bay? Like, what are they going to have to do to score enough to hang with the Packers, who are going to be able, they score 30 points on everyone now?
Well, yeah, the Packers have been so banged up in the secondary all year long.
Yeah.
Don't know what the heck's going on with Jair Alexander and all that, but there have to be matchups there. And outside of the second game last year, which was, the Jaren Hall disaster thing, there's been two other games that Jordan Addison has played as a Viking against the Packers, and he's smoked them both times, both of the Lambeau games. So I'm looking at this one and saying, okay, is
Joe Barry's not walking through that door, but yes, I understand.
Well, he got him really bad week 4 too.
Yeah.
So even if they find the way to, slow down Justin Jefferson, even if they do the same, like 2-man, Jair Alexander, press the heck out of Justin Jefferson, mug him at the line, be physical. That's the kind of
that game.
That's a lot of teams have found that to be the only way to get Justin Jefferson not to put up 150 on him. But very few of those teams have found a way to win the game anyways, because when they do that, that usually is going to leave Hawkinson or Addison one-on-one, or it requires too high alignments, and that means you're running on them. And so the Vikings have punished that really bad. So, but let's say they find a way to slow down Jefferson. What's the matchup that Addison will have feels like he's kind of had the Packers number in terms of getting that separation at the very least, because I think he got a lot of, he was hurt actually in that second game, so of course he didn't go off. He was out. But in the game last year, so when he's playing, he does great against the Packers. Is Addison the Packer killer? I think that's something to watch, but I think it's got to be those matchups on the outside, and can they find a way, especially to be physical, and that's maybe the thing we haven't talked about enough here, is how physical the Packers are, how physical the Vikings are, and how I think whoever wins that thing up front and gets that push has this advantage where, who can force the other guy to put a safety in the box, and then you suddenly get a one-on-one you really like. That's really, I think, the tipping point. As soon as somebody starts getting those one-on-ones, then I think, the quarterback can make the throw.
I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, because we as you mentioned, I just watched the Packers beat up a Saints team that, they did not have to beat up the way that they did. Like the physical
JV Saints. Well, they play pissed off in December, and that's a LaFleur thing, right? Like and
to do it, I started calling it with the Toyotathon Jordan Love thing. I started calling it the December to remember Matt LaFleur, because he's got the best December record ever. For a modern coach, he's got a better December record than Vince freaking Lombardi at this point in his NFL career, which is remarkable. And they have started to really play a nasty, mean brand of football. And I know that it's not going to be cold in Minnesota indoors. It will probably be very cold outside. But I think that's one of those things. Like if you're going to meet the moment that the Vikings are going to bring to bear with all the, like, they went out and they're the 1 seed, right? So if you're going to meet that moment, if you're Green Bay, it has to be because you show up more pissed off to play football on Sunday afternoon. And I think that's going to have to be the formula here. And you're going to have to play buttoned up. You're going to have to play disciplined, especially against the Brian Flores defense, especially against the Kevin O'Connell offense. It's so damn annoying that the Vikings and the Lions are so well coached. It's so annoying that is the case.
They win the penalty battle every time.
Please, bad team X, go hire Brian Flores. Ben Johnson, please get up the hell out of the NFC North. Aaron Glenn, I don't really care that much. But congratulations on the New Orleans Saints job. I guess. So Ross Jackson will enjoy that. I know he will.
Somebody has to take it, huh?
So, well, theoretically, who knows? So what is your feel for where we are right now with this game? Like, is there a key injury? Like, or are you ready to just pronounce that this is a Vikings victory?
No, I mean, it's a 1.5 spread. It should be a tough game. For both sides. It should be a hard fought game. If it's not, I think that's more surprising than one side winning or the other.
I agree.
Here's where my heart is at right now, because the last 3 years, the Vikings have won the first game of the season against the Packers, and then they've played them the second to last week of the year and gotten absolutely curb stomped. And I know that players who have been in the building for all of those, the Justin Jeffersons of the world, guys on the O-line, guys that have been in there, because that goes back to Zimmer. And I don't think anybody on the defense, the whole defense is turned around from even 2 years ago. Like Patrick Peterson's not here anymore, but
how long is Harrison
guys
Phillips
who have been in
like,
the building for all of that? Say what?
Harrison Phillips has got to remember some of that. Yeah.
Harrison Phillips. Well, he wasn't here in 2021, and it's like, I think that happened then too. But like it was Michael Pierce that year. But it's been this like extremely predictable thing that like the Vikings will just fall totally flat on their face. But this has been the year of the Vikings breaking the curses that they've always had. Kickers were missing field goals against them. They won in Seattle. Like they're doing things they haven't done in 20 years. So can this be the next thing? And I think this is more of a test, right? I mean, the Packers are playing better than any of the last like 9 teams they've played, right? So this becomes the test. They got to play the Packers, the Lions, and then playoffs teams, right? So really, the playoff caliber football starts now. What do you have in you? And by the way, can you buck this tradition of totally falling flat on your face the second time you play Matt LaFleur? Like that's where my like heart is at. What actually happens? I have no idea. And I think you're overconfident if you say you absolutely know what's going to happen.
Yeah, this is one of those games where I don't. I mean, again, it's early in the week as we record this, but I don't have a great feel for this game. I've had, I will say, and I was just saying this to someone. A league source that I was talking to that like, look, I there have been years where we've done this. I don't know if you feel this, where I have not had a great feel for the team. Like 2019, I did not understand that Packers team at all. I feel like this is probably the best I've understood a Packers team this year. Or like this season, since 2017 that I've been doing this is the best I've understood a Packers team. I think they're going to try their very hardest to win this game. But I do feel like there is that incentive difference that these teams are close enough that where we are right now with this team is, I think that could end up being the difference. That the fact that this is still the 1 seed on the line.
But the Vikings have more to play for.
Is there's more pressure. And I wonder, this version of this Vikings team, Sam Darnold, they have not really had a game like that where that has been the case. Now, the end of the Seahawks game, maybe notwithstanding, we'll see.
Yeah.
And that's where I think if you're the Packers, you're going to say, okay, we know our best game is good enough to beat this Vikings team. Is rinsing the bad taste out of your mouth, is pride, is divisional rivalry, is all that stuff. Is that enough? And there is this big game monkey that the Packers kind of want to get off their back. They have not beaten a really good team in a big spot like this season yet. And so if they want to go be an NFC Super Bowl contender, they have to go beat a good team to do it, right? So this is their opportunity. And so that's where I am with the game right now.
No matter what happens here, one of us is like gonna go for 3 of these crossovers with Matt Derry. Like it just feels inevitable that one of us is gonna go play in the Lions one way or another. But there's still a lot of this.
It would not surprise me if you, me, and Matt have an extra one all.
If we all did, yeah. If that was like the path to the Super Bowl is through the other two NFC North teams. But there's a lot of football yet to be played, a lot of decisions yet to be played.